On this week's episode of T-Mac Inspired Podcast, I had an amazing conversation with one of my good friends, Mr. BK Hopgood, as he talked about his rise to success and then his fall. And guess what? He rose to the top again. So don't take my word for it. Go ahead, listen for yourself.
BK.
Hey.
How are you?
Real well. How are you,
here.
Tasha?
I'm here.
I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so glad. Welcome to Oklahoma City. Absolutely.
Yes. And for those who are watching us, this is not the rooftop of a fancy restaurant. This is the rooftop of your house.
Yes.
I wanted to, exclamate that.
I appreciate that.
Okay?
I appreciate that.
So I don't know if you have one up on Keenan or not.
I don't think I have one up on Keenan. Keenan has that elaborate estate, and it's nothing like land. Mine goes up, his goes out. So
yeah.
That's my brother.
Absolutely. So anyway, thank you again.
So glad that you're here.
Yes. We just came off of an amazing 2-day summit.
Yes.
Where you had some phenomenal speakers, great information. I want to tap in with everybody. I want all the juice.
Absolutely.
Right. On the next level. So what made you decide to do a 2-day summit?
Well, that 2-day summit has always been something that we've done in times past.
Okay.
But longer than 2 days. We've done a faith summit, me and my spiritual father, probably about 2 days ago, and even before then, we've always done something around our destiny ministry, empowering people to understand the ability of their wealth, which is not riches, but information. So the ability of the information that they retain, and the wisdom on how to apply it. And so now in 2022, coming out of the pandemic or post-pandemic, we felt that it was right to get people ready in the first quarter to go into the year with wisdom and knowledge on how to win in this season. So this 2-day mastermind that we just came out of was designed to empower people for 2022.
Okay. Now let me ask you, is this like a one-time thing or a yearly thing? How are you going to do this?
We plan to do it at least one every 2 to 3 months. So we have another one that we're preparing to do, and we're going to drop that location real soon. But it's something that we want to take across the United States to be able to touch people in their area and then show them how to master these particular areas in their life in 2022. So it'll be more than one.
Okay. So you know what I like to say, you can't teach a person how to ride a bike.
Correct.
At a seminar.
Correct.
Or a webinar. So what is like the follow-up plan for people who attend the summits?
Great question. Anybody that attends the summit, it's designed for them to connect with the people that they resonated with the most. So the speakers like yourself, you was here for this 2-day. I expect you to be at the other 2 days that we do across the country. So if I can get on your show, that commitment that you're coming to the other cities, praise the Lord. And so, but it's designed for them to connect with the people that they've resonated the most. And that connection is to go beyond the summit, because you're correct. You're not going to learn everything in a 2-day situation. So we just mastermind, or we reset your mind in order for you to mine, M-I-N-I-N-G, or mining, or M-I-N-E, I believe, to mine. And when you mine, you're digging. Okay, so the more you dig, the more you tap into the potential. And so connecting with those individuals is the ultimate game plan. Whatever that continuity or continuation that the speakers have, we want them to connect.
Now, I heard you reference your spiritual father a lot, call him Pop. How did that relationship come about?
That's a great question. So in 1999, I was searching for a new church home. I was still here in Oklahoma City, but I was burnt out on what the city offered spiritually. And I was a part of a prophetic movement, and I saw Pastor Kenneth Davis a part of that movement, with him being an African American in a predominantly Caucasian circuit. I resonated, and then he was of the same denomination, so that even excited me more. So I reached out and visited his church in Denton, Texas, and the rest was history. A man of excellence, him and his wife, a man of their excellence, their spirit of unity, and they had a very thriving church. And from that connection came mentorship, fathership, and a lot of my teaching and exhorting have come from him, because when I met him, I was only 23, 24 years old.
So you've always been in the church?
All my life. I've been preaching since the age of 3.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. I love the Lord. He heard my cry. Pitied my groan.
Funny. Oh my goodness, 3 years old?
3 years old.
So were you raised by your grandparents?
No, my
Because
mom.
that's your mom?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. She came into what we call holiness
Okay.
when she was pregnant with me.
Okay.
So pregnant with me, I come out, being one of those,
Sanctified babies.
you took the words out of my mouth.
I got it.
And we call them also pew babies. So been in church all of my life.
Okay.
All of my life.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people who say that preachers shouldn't have wealth and make all this money? And what do you say to people who say that?
Well, a person that says that don't really understand the Bible, because the Bible talks about money more than anything else, because money is definitely the concept of your expansion. So when he said money answereth all things, he was specifying that every question that you might have, money has an answer, because it's going to take substance in order to receive results. Okay, so anybody that frowns on money, they really don't understand God. He's a God of wealth. He's a God of substance. The cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to him. And so, people take the scripture out of context. The love of money is the root of all evil. Well, when you love something more than God, it's the root of all evil. And so a lot of times people worship money because they don't understand it.
Right.
Then they take that scripture out of context to say that, money is not the way of God, which is completely inaccurate. Completely inaccurate.
It is. I know that, but
Yes.
there's a lot of people that think that if you are a Christian or if you are godly, you should not be wealthy.
Yeah. I refuse to be poor. Now, the poor we will have with us always, but he became poor that I might become rich.
Come on.
So the blessings of the Lord make it rich, and it adds no sorrow. So if the blessings of the Lord make rich and adds no sorrow, why should I be poor? Poorness or lack does not represent the sanctity of God. It's actually an insult to God, because he's a God of abundance. He said, I come that you might have life, and that more abundantly. So the abundance of God's life is greater than your living. You don't live to exist, you live to create, produce, and be the replication of God in the earth realm. So, yeah.
So I didn't know this until the summit, that you were, that you came from, I'm going to say a wealthy family.
Middle class. Yeah.
Based on, what your father did. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, my father was a businessman, entrepreneur, didn't graduate high school. He dropped out his senior year and became a businessman and really matriculated, learned his craft, networked, relationships out the wazoo during his time. So with that being said, he owned several establishments. He had nightclubs, he had restaurants, he owned several hotels, and he was definitely vested in what he did. And when he passed away, I was 7 years old. The things that I remember of him is going down to the hotels, visiting him, and he always had a pocket full of money. He dressed well and drive well, and he instilled in us at a very young age that he worked for us. And I tell my children the same thing. Okay, and so, but he established a legacy by putting certain principles in us early that a lot of people would think, how did you gravitate to that? Well, it's innate in me. You can be born with certain characteristic traits that will allow you to have a head start. Because if your parents are entrepreneurs, something within you will have that same drive as they do. And so he was a great man. Great man.
I believe that. I believe that. My grandparents both of my granddads were entrepreneurs.
Okay.
That's all I ever known of them, right? And when I became an entrepreneur, it was so natural to me. You know, I didn't struggle with entrepreneurship. And a lot of people ask me, you know, how is it so easy to you? I believe what you believe.
Yeah.
I felt like it was innate.
Yeah. So true. And then my mom, who's still alive, she's an entrepreneur. 30+ year cosmetologist.
Did you know I was a cosmetologist?
I heard you said it in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Cosmetologist. And she retired in 2005. And so, I mean, to see them in business, you know, I had no other choice but to be an entrepreneur. I've been actually working for myself since the age of 12.
I was going to say, have you ever worked for anybody else?
I have, but I started out young working for myself.
What'd you do?
I sold my pictures,
What pictures?
school pictures.
Your pictures of you? Arrogant. Hollywood.
This is a true story.
You saw pictures of you?
My mom, I'll never forget, my mom would not give me any money to go and buy candy. No, you're not going to the drugstore to buy candy, which was next to a beauty salon. So I had to find a way to get some money, you know. So I took my school pictures, cut them up, went around the shopping center, and sold my pictures for $1, and I sold out.
Oh, you only had what, one or two?
No, I probably had about 5 or 6.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Now that's
I'm
a hustler.
Serious. Yeah.
And arrogant. That
No,
you
I
would
want
sell
that.
your own pictures.
You know, I thought people wanted to see me at all times. You know what I'm saying? At all times.
That's funny.
But-
So you have been an entrepreneur your whole life.
I have. And then, you know, I started out 14, got my work permit, started at KFC, worked in the summertime with one of the deacons at the church, had a janitorial company. But when I turned 18, 19 years of age, the deacon that had a shoe shine parlor taught me how to be a boot blacker. And in 50 Penn Place in Oklahoma City, I learned how to do modern foot washing, which was shining shoes. And that's where the intel of being entrepreneurial, understanding the structure came, because our clientele were all affluent, all to do, well off, you know, businessmen, owners, the elite of the city. And they instilled a lot in me. They shared a lot in me, poured a lot in me, and shared a lot with me to make sure that as a young man, as I was growing up, that I would have the basic business principles of making things happen. So 18 and 19 is where it all happened, and I haven't looked back since.
When were you most successful?
That's a good question. So what do you define success, I guess?
What do you define as success?
Well, success to me is not matriculation of material possessions. Success to me is not amounting a lot of money. Success to me is completing what you've started. Because when you are successful, you've succeeded, and then success leaves succession. So what I succeeded, it should be able to pass on. So how many things have I completed? A lot. And I felt successful in many, many ways. Now, the amounting of things, my most success is when I got into real estate and finance. And that was really 1999 and 2000 when I dived into real estate hardcore. And learning that industry actually allowed me to amount in a lot of financing, a lot of what we call material possessions.
What about your darkest time?
Oh my God, that's a good question. My darkest time was 2009. And what led to that was I became a lover of money because money became my God. I was making a lot of money. I did not need God to the extent, even though I was still in ministry. I didn't depend on him to provide because I was able to provide for myself. So when the market crashed, in the housing market in 2008, that's when it started turning. So I'm now trying to maintain a lifestyle that was now gone. And I did not know how to digress, pull it back, to know that there's a roller coaster. What goes up gonna come down, and what comes down got to go back up. So prepare for that. This is my first time walking into this level of financing, and so when this happened, I became unethical in my business practices to maintain my lifestyle. I mean, my monthly expenditures were about $70,000 a month for me just to live, because of the number of houses, the people that I was taking care of, and then my lifestyle. And I didn't know how to scale back from that 70 to possibly now just $10,000. So to become unethical in things, I did things not because I was trying to achieve something. I did things to try to maintain.
To maintain. Ooh.
To maintain. Because once you get a taste of something, sometimes it's difficult to let it go. So God, which I'm grateful, and I'll never change this story. I wouldn't even want it to be rewritten. He had to get my attention because I didn't know how to humble myself. He humbled me. Okay? So he knocked, as I would say, the deck from underneath me and allowed me to be face forward. So there was a big expose on me. Okay? You thought I would have killed somebody, murdered somebody, but it was financial, this expose. But it was also God getting my attention, because whom he loves, he corrects. He chastises. And his chastisement was good for me. But at that moment, I wanted to give up. I wanted to throw in the towel. I told God to take me. If you don't take me, I'm going to take myself, because I couldn't deal with this pressure. I was facing a second divorce. Wife, we were separated at the time. And this was 2009. Okay. And when this hit, I went into a deep depression. Okay. And so, and even my spiritual father couldn't bring me out. And I turned to the point where I put God on the shelf. And I started just doing whatever. Okay. But December 15th, 2010 was when my redemption started. I got arrested. I got arrested. And that arrest, they came to my house at that time in Edmond, Oklahoma. Okay. And every imaginable toy that you can imagine, every car, everything you could imagine, I had them in my driveway at the time. And I was headed to go get my son from school, and there was a unmarked car sitting in the one-way subdivision, one way in, one way out. And I'm the only black in that subdivision. See this marked car? He see me pull out, and he stops me. Now, mind you, I could have bailed myself out, but no bailsman would touch me, because God said, I need you to sit down. I need you to sit down and recalibrate. And that's when redemption started. When I tell you redemption started, and it was completed. And so at that completion, 3 years later, this is where a lot of things began to happen during that time that I had to sit. 350 men gave their life to the Lord. I wrote 4 books.
Wow.
So what I had time to do was to regurgitate, process, and position myself for the greatest comeback that one could ever have. Because I was off balance in the current situation based on what the market had done. And I asked God to help me, take me out. He took me out. He didn't kill me. He just processed me. So that dark time actually became a time of healing.
So it took what, 3 years?
Three and a half years.
3.5 years. When you came home, what was it like?
I mean, if I could be honest with you, I was free even though I was physically contained. So coming home wasn't an adjustment, because I was actually functioning in my capacity of purpose while I was away. I was having business meetings, ministering, teaching a class that was approved by the Bureau at that time, how to start a business, commercial real estate, taught over 300 men. So at the end of the day, I wasn't lost without a purpose and coming out to say, oh.
What am I going to do?
Correct.
Right.
I was 5 years ahead of schedule when I came home.
Oh, wow.
5 years ahead of schedule. So immediately after I came home, less than 90 days of coming home, I already bought my first gas station with the strategies that I already knew. Okay, then we bought the second gas station, and we reinstituted the construction company. But the difference between then and back when was money was not my God.
So what changed?
A mindset.
About money?
Yes, about money. I wasn't impressed with money anymore. Because once you have it, it don't impress you anymore. That's a valuable lesson, to not be impressed by something that you're supposed to dominate and control.
Anyway.
And I did not know how to do that. And so at the very beginning of doing it, money had my attention versus me having money's attention. And so I knew how to properly put money in its place. And that is to go to work for me. And I told all my partners, and even to this day, I'll give it all up if it takes away my relationship with the Lord. If it takes my focus away of the main thing. I don't need it. Don't want it. So that's the difference. Because if you would have met me, 13, 14 years ago, you would not have liked me.
I didn't say I like you now.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
who don't like me? No, just right.
So fill in the blank. God is.
My everything.
Money is.
An object.
People are.
That's a good one. People are interesting. Very interesting.
Business is.
A subsidy.
Very good. Very good. What would you have? Last word for the people.
Listen, in anything you can achieve it, number one, if you can believe, that belief must be centered in a hope and a desire and a destiny. That destiny must have some concrete evidence that you have been destined to be great. And when you understand your destiny, you'll never allow dilemmas or setbacks or disappointments to hinder you from getting to your ultimate goal. Take every journey, journal it, that you might always have the victory. That's what I would leave people.
There you have it. All right. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for coming to Oklahoma City.
Hey, don't forget to follow me, if you're not on all platforms, at TMAC_inspire. All right, see you on the next episode. Bye.